The wind moved through the empty trees as the human named Jack stepped into the ruins of the lost city. He held a small torch in his hand and looked around. The broken stone buildings were quiet and dark. Not a sound, not a single bird. The planet was strange and cold, with two large moons high above. The sky was purple and silver, and everything felt like a dream, but something was watching him. He could feel it. He took slow steps through the ruins, his boots pressed against the dry leaves, and crushed glass under his breath. Was calm, but his heart beat fast. He was not afraid of danger. He was a soldier, a scout for the Earth Federation, trained for alien worlds, but this place was different. It felt like it was holding a secret. He turned a corner and stopped. His eyes saw movement, something small, something quick. Hiding behind a wall, he raised his torch slowly. He said in a soft voice, "I saw you come out. I will not hurt you." There was no answer, just breathing fast and quiet. He stepped closer and moved the torch gently. The light showed something behind the wall, and he gasped. The girl, not human, not like any alien he had seen before, small and thin. Her skin was pale blue, like ice, with soft white lines glowing faintly. She had long, silver hair that covered her face and arms wrapped around her knees. She looked like she had not eaten in days. She looked up at him with wide, glowing eyes. Her lips trembled, and she spoke a few words in a language he did not understand. Then she screamed, "No, not light, no moons," and tried to crawl deeper into the shadows. Her hands reached out weakly. Her skin smoked a little where the torchlight touched it, and she cried like it burned. Jack quickly turned the light away and dropped the torch to the ground. He raised his hands and said, Okay, no light, see no torch. I put it down. Look, I will not shine it on you." She stopped moving and just breathed fast. Her small body shaking, he sat down on the cold stone and waited, not moving. He kept his hands up and his eyes soft. Minutes passed, then more. She slowly moved a little closer, her voice a whisper. "You not from here?" "Why you come, Jack?" Said, "I came to explore. I thought no one lived here. I was wrong. You are here. What is your name?" She said nothing for a moment, then said only, "Name left is Sar." She paused, then said, "Moons kill me. You bring moons, I burn." She pointed up, and Jack looked through a broken roof. He saw the twin moons, both shining strong. He turned to see her skin glowing faintly under their light. She covered her face again and cried. He stood and pulled off his coat, then stretched it over the broken roof to block the moonlight. Slowly, the glow on her skin faded. She stopped crying and looked at him with eyes full of surprise and confusion. "You help me?" she asked. He said, "Yes, you look hurt. I want to help you. Can you walk?" She nodded slowly. "I tried." She stood up, but her legs shook. She almost fell. He caught her in time. Her body was burning hot like fire under her skin. He said, "You have fever." But she shook her head. "No, not sick. Moonlight. Make me burn. Make me heat. Too much heat. And I die." Jack helped her sit again. He pulled out a small water bottle and gave her a sip. She drank a little, then stopped like water. Hurt her throat, she said. "You human. Yes, your kind. Not come here a long time before people leave. Now only me left alone. Moons hate me, light. Hate me. I live in dark or I die." Jack listened closely and asked why. "What do the moons do to you?" She said, "Moons wake the fire. I carry fire inside, but I cannot control it. Not in light, not in sky. Light burns me from inside." Jack looked at her hands, small, thin, glowing with soft white light. He felt a chill, not fear, but deep sadness. She was just a girl, and she was running from the sky itself. He said, "Come with me. I will make shelter, keep you safe from moons. I promise." She looked into his eyes like she was searching for a lie. She found none and gave a small, slow nod. "Yes, I follow you." Jack stood and picked up his pack. He helped her walk through the ruins under broken roofs and deep shadows. She could move better now, but still weak. They found a small room half underground, safe from the sky. He gave her a blanket and placed stones to block any light. She looked at him and said, "Thank you. Not many help me, all fear me, but you, not fear." "Why?" Jack answered, "Because I see pain, not danger in your eyes. I see someone who needs a friend." She closed her eyes and rested her head on her knees, her breathing. "Come now." Jack sat near the door and watched the twin moons outside, still high and full, their light strong and silver and deadly to the girl behind him. He knew this was not the end, only the beginning. The question now was why the moons hated her, and what power slept inside her waiting to wake Asterisk. The wind outside blew soft and cold, but inside the small broken shelter the air felt strange. The girl called. Sar sat curled up in the corner, her eyes closed, her skin still glowing faintly. Jack watched her carefully, his back against the wall. He had stayed awake all night listening to her breathing. It was not like normal breathing. It came in waves. Slow, fast, slow, like fire breathing, waiting to rise. The moons had set an hour ago, and with their light gone, the room grew cooler. The strange heat from her body faded too. Jack stood up and stretched his arms. His muscles ached from the hard floor, but he did not care. He walked to Sarah and knelt beside her. She opened her eyes slowly, her face calm, but her eyes deep like she carried the weight of a world. Jack said, I will look for food. You stay here. No light, no open sky. She gave a small nod and pulled the blanket tighter around her. Jack stepped outside the broken room and moved through the ruins, careful not to let sunlight touch the cracks near her shelter. He found a few strange fruits growing near a fallen pillar. Their color was blue, but when he smelled one, it was sweet and warm. He hoped it was safe. He brought them back and gave one to Sarah. She took it slowly, her hand shaking. She bit a small piece and chewed without speaking, then nodded, thank you, her voice soft and low. After eating, she spoke again in simple words. When moons rise again, I must go deeper. I must not be touched again, or fire will come. It grows. Each time it burns more. Each time. Jack asked, what happens when fire comes? She looked away, her hands clenched together. Last time I was close to open sky, I screamed. My voice shook the stones. Fire came from skin. It broke the ground. I burned the trees. I did not want to. I cried, but fire does not listen. Fire only burns. Jack felt a chill, not from cold, but from fear of what he could not see. He said, I want to help you. We must understand. This fire, we must test it slowly. Find what makes it strong, what makes it weak. Maybe there is a way to stop it. Sarah shook her head. No one can stop it. Not even me, but maybe you can teach me to slow it. Maybe not let it take over me. That night, Jack covered every hole in the room, every crack with stone and cloth, but he left one small place open to the sky. The moons would rise again, and he wanted to see what happened. He sat with Sarah and explained the plan. She was scared, but agreed. If you say I am safe, I will trust you. As the twin moons began to rise, Jack uncovered the hole. Slowly, silver light poured in like a river, quiet and soft. It touched her feet, then her legs. Her skin glowed brighter, and she gasped. It hurts, she cried, but Jack stayed calm. Breathe slow, feel it. Do not run from it, just feel it. Her eyes closed and her hands grabbed his arms tightly. The glow became stronger, her body hot like iron near flame but not yet burning. She screamed once, a deep cry from her chest, and the air shimmered around her. Jack held her hands tighter, saying, you can stop it, you can control it, you are strong. She opened her eyes and her pupils were gone, replaced by white light like stars inside her body, but the fire stopped at her shoulders. It did not go further. It paused. It shook like it was waiting. Then it faded back into her skin. She fell into his arms, her body shaking, but HFY wrapped her in the blanket and whispered, you did it. You held it back. You stopped it. She looked at him and asked, did I hurt you? He smiled, no. You were like the sun, but you did not burn me. You controlled the fire. Her eyes filled with tears. I never stopped it before. Never. Not even once. They sat in silence for a long time. The moons outside, glowing over the ruins. Jack looked at her and said, you are not a monster. You are something rare, something strong. Your pain is real, but it is not the end. It is the start of something greater. She closed her eyes and whispered, maybe I am not cursed. Maybe I am not alone anymore. He knew this was only the first step. Her fire was strong and wild, but now there was hope. He looked at the moons and felt something shift deep in his heart, like this girl, this strange being of light and heat, had just shown him the truth of something greater than war or peace, something that needed to be protected even from the sky itself. Morning came with gray skies and cold air. Jack stepped out of the broken shelter, his body tired but his mind full of questions behind him. Sarah slept deeply, her skin calm, without light, without fire. He walked through the ruins, past walls covered in vines and broken statues, his eyes searching for a path. His map showed a village far north beyond the cliffs. If anyone knew the truth about Sarah, it would be them. He packed food, water, and a signal flare, then looked back at the shelter one last time. She will be safe here, he whispered to himself, and began walking. The road was rough. Sharp stones and fallen trees blocked the way, but Jack moved fast, his boots steady on the dirt. He crossed a narrow river, climbed a hill, then saw smoke in the distance. Not dark smoke, not war smoke, but soft white lines rising from homes. The village was old, with round huts made of stone and glass. Strange lights blinked on the walls, and tall wind towers spun slowly in the wind. Aliens walked between homes, their bodies tall and thin, with long arms and soft gray skin, their eyes large and deep, like they had seen too much. He stepped into the village square and raised both hands in peace. The aliens looked at him with shock, then fear, then silence. An old alien stepped forward, his skin cracked like old wood, his voice dry like dust. "You are human. You should not be here. We left your kind behind long ago," Jack said. "I come in peace. I seek knowledge about a girl with fire skin and glowing eyes." The old alien froze. The crowd behind him murmured, then turned quiet again. He whispered she was meant to die. No one should speak of her. Jack felt a chill in his chest. He asked, "What do you mean? Who is she? What is she?" The old alien said she was born during the rare twin eclipse, a time when both moons hid behind the sun. Only once in many thousand years does this happen. When it does, it leaves behind something wrong, something cursed. Her birth brought storms. Her first cry cracked the sky. Fire came from her hands while she was still small. We feared her. We hid her away. She was never meant to live. Jack stepped closer, his voice steady but sharp. "You left her alone to die. A child, you called her cursed, but she was scared. She is still scared." The old alien looked away, his eyes full of guilt. "It was law. It was fear. Our kind believes in balance. She broke that balance. The moons cursed her, not us." Another alien spoke from the crowd. "She survived. She lives how she still breathes." Jack said, "Because she is strong, because she hides from your moons and from your hate. And now she is learning to control what you called a curse." The old alien looked at Jack with tired eyes. "You are not afraid of her." Jack shook his head. "She is just a girl with fire inside, not a monster." He paused, then asked, "What does the fire mean? Where does it come from?" The old alien stepped back, then turned toward a temple at the edge of the village. "Come with me. I will show you the place of records. The truth may help you or it may break you." Jack followed him into the temple walls lined with glowing stones. Old writing danced across them, pictures of moons, fire, and children. Born with light, the old alien pointed to a symbol, a child with fire. Standing between two moons, he said, "The fire is not a curse, it is a key. The ones born under the eclipse carry power not for war, not for death, but for change." Jack stared at the wall. The images showed two paths, one of ruin and one of peace, both led by the child of fire. He turned to the old alien and asked, "Why did you not tell her? Why did you let her believe she was a curse?" The old alien said, "Because truth is dangerous, because we were afraid of what she could become. We thought silence was safety, but maybe we were wrong." Jack stepped out of the temple. The air outside felt heavier, the sky now darker with clouds. He looked north, then south, his mind racing. Sar needed to hear the truth. She needed to know her fire was not her enemy. He thanked the old alien and began the journey back, his feet moving faster with each step. He crossed the river, climbed a hill, and ran through the ruins until he reached the shelter inside. Sar sat with her arms around her knees, her eyes wide with fear. "I felt the sky grow heavy," she said. "I thought you left me." Jack knelt beside her and said, "I found the village. They told me everything. They said you were not cursed, not broken, but chosen. You are rare and powerful, born under the eclipse, with fire inside for a reason." Her lips trembled. "They feared me. They hurt me. Why now? Tell truth." Jack placed his hand on hers because they were afraid, but fear does not mean they were right. "I believe in you, Sar, not because of your fire, but because you chose to fight it, because you stayed kind even when they were cruel." Her eyes filled with tears. "Not fire, not now, only tears. You came back. You still see me." Jack smiled. "Always. I see you not as a weapon, not as a curse, but as a girl with a light that was never meant to be hidden." She leaned her head on his shoulder and whispered then, "I will try to be strong for me, for you, for the stars that still wait to see me shine." Dark clouds moved across the sky as the wind grew stronger. Jack stood near the edge of the ruins, his eyes on the horizon. The sun had gone down and the twin moons were rising together again. Tonight would be different tonight. Sar would face the light without running, without hiding. She had trained with Jack for 3 days, learning to breathe slow, hold the fire still, and listen to the heat inside her chest. The shelter they had made was small and hidden under stone, but now they walked out into the open ground. The moon's climbing higher above the trees Sar held, her arms close to her body, her silver hair falling over her face, her voice soft like a breeze. I am scared, Jack. I feel it already, the heat. It rises like a storm. He placed his hand on her shoulder and said, I know, but you are ready this time. We'll face it together. They reached the clearing, the same place where Sar had first cried in the night and made the trees smoke. Now they stood still, the forest around them, quiet like it too was watching. Jack stepped back and gave her space. You can do this, Sar. You do not have to fight it. Just let it come. Let it speak. She looked up at the moons, her eyes glowing brighter with each second the light touched her skin. She trembled once, twice, then fell to her knees. Her body glowed white. Then, golden red, her hands burned without flame. Her voice broke into a scream. But she did not run. She placed her palms on the ground and shouted, I see it. I see the fire. It is not a beast. It is me! It is me! The ground shook, not from her scream, but from the heat rising through her veins. Her hair lifted in the air like smoke around her. She stood slowly, her body shining like a star. Jack watched with wide eyes, but did not move. He had to trust her. She had to trust herself. The trees near her began to sway as if wind had come, but there was no wind, only heat, dry and rising like desert breath. Sar raised her arms to the sky and cried, I am not afraid of the moons. I am not afraid of light. I am not afraid of me. Then it happened to ring. A fire burst from her body, spreading out in every direction. Trees caught, flame stones, cracked birds flew away in panic. The sky turned orange with her power. She screamed again, but this time it was not pain. It was power, not chaos, but control. Jack shielded his face as the wave passed over him. He felt heat strong like summer sun, but it did not burn. It touched him and moved on like wind through dry grass. Sar stood alone in the center, her eyes white, her skin red, her hair glowing like metal. She breathed deep, then exhaled slow, and the fire pulled back into her like water returning to the sea. The flames around the clearing died down. The air cooled, her glow faded, and she dropped to her knees. Jack ran to her and caught her before she fell, her body shaking, her lips dry, her voice low. Did I lose control? Did I hurt you? He looked around. The fire had burned trees and grass, but had not harmed him, had not harmed her. It was wild, but not cruel. It was power with shape. Jack said, no, you did not lose control. You became the fire. You held it, and you brought it back. Sar cried, not from pain, but from relief. She buried her face in his chest and whispered, I did not know I could stop it. I always thought the fire controlled me. Jack helped her stand and guided her back to the shelter. They walked slow, her steps weak but steady. The moon still above, but now they looked smaller, less frightening. She sat on the blanket and drank water from his bottle, her hands still warm but not burning. She said, they will come now. They saw the light. Someone will come. Jack nodded. Yes, someone will come. Maybe not friends, maybe hunters, but we will be ready. She looked at him with tired eyes. Do you think the fire inside me is meant for good or meant for war? He smiled and said, I think it is meant for what you choose, not for what they fear, not for what the moons say. Your fire is yours, Sar, and now you know how to hold it. She closed her eyes and leaned back. The stars above twinkled through the cracks in the shelter. The ground, still warm from the night of fire outside the trees, whispered like they were telling each other what had just happened. The wind carried the scent of smoke and something else, something new, not fear, not curse, but hope in the form of a girl who no longer feared the sky.
The morning sun rose behind gray clouds as soft wind moved through the broken trees, the ground still warm from the fire Sar had released the night before. Jack sat on a rock near the shelter, sharpening a small metal tool, his eyes on the sky, his mind full of worry. He had seen the fire, he had felt the heat, but what scared him more was the light that had reached far into the dark. Someone must have seen it, someone must be coming. Sar woke slowly, her body still weak, her hair dull, her skin no longer glowing. She sat near the door, her hands folded in her lap, her voice quiet. I felt something in the sky last night, not just the moon, something else, something above watching. Jack looked up and saw nothing but blue sky, yet he knew she was right. He said, we have to move soon. If others saw the fire, they will come, and not all will come to help. He packed their supplies, wrapped food and cloth-filled water into small canisters, and checked the old signal flare just in case as he worked. The sky above began to shift. A soft hum filled the air like wind. Trapped in a metal cave, Sar stood and walked beside him. Her eyes wide, her voice full of fear. They are here, I can feel them, they follow the light, they follow my fire. A large shadow passed over the ruins as a silver ship appeared in the clouds, round and smooth with blinking lights along its edge. It hovered without sound, but the pressure in the air grew heavy, like the sky itself was being pushed down. A loud voice came from the ship, strong and cold and full of command. The voice said, "Human, step away from the subject, surrender the fire child. She must be taken for control." Jack stood tall, his voice strong and calm. "She is not a subject, she is a person, and I will not let you take her." The voice replied, "She is danger, she is not meant to walk free. She burns the world around her, she must be contained before others follow her flame." Sar moved forward, her hands open, her voice clear. "I am not a danger, I am not your prisoner. I am light, not weapon." The ship sent down 3 metal drones, each one sharp and fast. They circled the two like vultures ready to strike. Jack pulled out his old weapon, but Sar placed a hand on his arm. "No," she whispered. "Let me try." Her body began to glow, not bright, not wild, but soft and steady like a single flame in deep night. The drones flew closer, scanners blinking, weapons ready. Sar raised her hands slowly, and the air around her shifted. The ground began to hum. One drone fired a warning beam. It hit near Jack and left a mark on the stone. Sar stepped in front of him, her body now brighter, her voice louder. "Stop. I do not want war, but I will not be taken." She closed her eyes and breathed deep, and from her chest came a pulse of heat. Not fire, not blast, just heat like summer sun, spreading wide, slow, and heavy. The drones stopped in midair, their lights flickering, their systems confused. The ship above moved back slightly. The voice changed its tone, now unsure. "What are you?" She opened her eyes full of white fire. "I am not yours. I am not cursed. I am Sar, born of moons and light, and I choose my path." The drones dropped to the ground, their metal bodies too hot to fly. Jack grabbed her hand and pulled her back. "We must run. They will call others. We must go now." They ran through the trees, leaves still burnt from the last fire, roots cracking under their feet. They climbed a steep hill, reached a cliff, and found an old cave, carved deep into the rock, the entrance narrow and dark. They slipped inside just before the ship returned overhead, its lights scanning the forest below, but they were gone, hidden in shadow. Once again inside the cave, Jack lit a small lamp. Sar sat near the wall, her breath fast, her body cooling the light in her skin, fading slowly. She looked at him with tired eyes. "I did not hurt them. I stopped them without burning. I used the heat, but I did not lose control." Jack smiled, proud and full of hope. "Yes, you showed them you are more than they think you are. Not fire your choice?" She looked around the cave and asked, "Where are we?" He pointed to the back wall where old marks covered the stone. "This is not just a cave, it is a temple or a place of old power. Maybe someone else like you once came here." She stood, walked to the wall, placed her hand on the marks, and the stone glowed faintly, her voice calm. "I feel something here, like memory, like song from long ago." Jack sat near the fire and looked toward the entrance. The world was not safe, not yet. More would come, more would try to take her or stop her, but now she had shown she could stand, she could speak, she could protect, and above all she could choose. The fire was no longer her fear, it was her strength, and it had just begun to shine. The cave was quiet, cold, and deep. Jack held the small lamp in one hand, his other hand brushing the rough wall beside him. The path was narrow, but safe. The air smelled like dust and old stone. Behind him, Sar walked slowly, her fingers tracing glowing marks that lit up at her touch. They had rested for one night, hidden from the sky. Now they searched deeper into the cave, hoping for answers, hoping for truth. The walls were filled with symbols, 2 moons, one above, one below, a child with fire in her chest, stars falling from the sky, and strange figures standing between light and dark. Sar paused near a large stone circle, her voice soft like a whisper. "I know this place, I saw it in dreams long before I met you. This is where the first fire was born." Jack looked at her, confused. "How can you know?" She smiled, "Not with words, with feeling, with something inside that pulls me here. Like memory from another life." They stepped into a large open chamber, smooth and round, with a pool in the center. The water still and silver like glass. 2 beams of moonlight came through cracks in the ceiling, one from each moon above. They touched the water and made the surface glow. Sar walked to the edge and looked down, her face reflected in the pool, but it was not just her reflection. She saw the same face, with flames in the eyes, stars in the hair, and a long cloak made of smoke. Jack stepped beside her and asked, "What do you see?" She said, "I see the fire. I could become the one they fear, the one who burns the world, but I also see the fire. I must become the one who lights the path, the one who gives warmth." He nodded. "The cave shows who you are, and who you could be. Both the danger and the gifts are." Turned away from the pool, her steps slow, her breath deep. She walked to a wall covered in marks, placed her hand on it, and the stone moved, sliding open to reveal another chamber, this one smaller, darker, filled with statues. Each one different, but all with the same shape, glowing eyes, fire in their chest, and symbols of moons on their foreheads. Jack counted 7 statues, each older than the last, their faces worn by time, their bodies cracked, but still standing strong. Sar touched the first statue and closed her eyes. "I feel them all, the ones who came before, the ones who carried the fire. They were not alone, they were not feared, they were honored, they were guides, not weapons." Jack stepped closer. "Do you think you are one of them, or something new?" She opened her eyes. "I think I am the next one, not a copy, not a shadow, but the next fire made for this time, for this world." They sat near the statues for a long time, sharing silence, listening to the hum of energy that filled the room. Jack said, "What if they come again? What if they bring more ships, more hunters, more fear?" She looked at him, calm and firm. "Then I will not run. I will stand. I will speak. I will show them the fire is not their enemy." Smiled, proud of her, proud of the strength she had grown. She had faced the moons, faced the fire inside, faced the voice from above, and now she stood inside the cave of truth, ready to take her place as more than a lost girl, more than a cursed child. She was becoming what the others before her had once been, light in the darkness. They explored more chambers, found old tools, old writings, old paintings on stone walls. Each one told the same story: fire comes, moons rise. A child is born, fear follows, but choice remains. One path leads to ruin, the other to hope. Sar read the words slowly, her voice steady. Fire is not death, fire is not war, fire is the test and the gift. Only the true heart can hold it without breaking. She looked at Jack and said, "I will hold it, I will not break, not now, not ever." He nodded. "Then we prepare, here we learn, we grow, and when the sky calls again, we answer with strength, not fear." As the night passed, the moons moved across the sky, their light shifting through the cracks in the cave, touching the pool again. The water shimmered, and in it 2 stars appeared, one red, one blue, moving together like dancers lost in space. Sar watched them and whispered, "Do you think there are more like me out there in other worlds and other skies?" Jack replied, "Maybe, or maybe you are the first of the new ones, not the last of the old ones." She smiled and stood tall, the fire in her chest, now calm, not gone, just waiting for the moment it would be needed, not to destroy, but to protect, not to blind, but to lead. And as they sat near the statues, the cave of twin reflections watched in silence, holding its breath for what would come next.
The sky cracked with thunder as the twin moons rose higher than ever before, their silver light sharp and wide across the broken land. The wind howled through dead trees and burned stone. The ruins shook with each passing second. Jack stood at the mouth of the cave, his eyes locked on the sky. The glow in the clouds was not from lightning, it was from ships. Dozens of them, large, small, all from the High Council sent to capture the fire. Girl behind him, Sar, stood calm, her silver hair waving. In the wind, her hands steady, her feet bare. She wore no armor, no cloak, only the light from her skin, which now pulsed with deep golden fire. She looked at the sky with no fear, only focus. She whispered, "They are afraid not of me, but of what I could become." Jack said, "You do not have to face them alone." She turned to him and smiled. "I am not alone, not anymore." The ships began to descend. Sharp metal claws opened from the largest one's spotlights. Search the ground, the voice from before returned. Louder, colder, all ground units surround the ruins, contain the target. No harm to the human if he steps away. Jack raised his voice. "I will not move. I will not let you take her. She is not a target. She is not a threat. She is hope. And you fear that." Stepped forward, her body glowing brighter, the heat around her rising like morning sun, soft but strong. Her voice rang through the air. "I am not your weapon. I am not your curse. I am the fire that chooses. I will not run. I will not hide. I will not burn because of fear. I will burn because I must stand." The sky responded with light beams fired from the ship, struck the ground around her. Jack reached for her hand, but she stepped past him. Her feet touched the stones, and the stones lit up the same way the cave walls did with her touch, symbols of old fire. and moon wrapped around her path, each step stronger than the last. The earth did not crack it. Awakened, the first drone flew close, its scanner locked on her chest. Warning system overload. Unstable energy detected, prepare for stun. She lifted her hand and the drone stopped in midair. Her fire wrapped around it like smoke and it fell silent, then dropped gently to the ground. No blast, no scream, only peace. More drones came from both sides. They fired light, not bullets, but beams that could trap her, could freeze her. She raised both hands and spun once. Her fire burst out, not in a wave, but in a ring. Clear and warm, the beams passed through it and vanished like rain and sun. The fire did not grow wild. It danced around her like guards made of gold and flame. The large ship began to shake, its power systems failing under the energy. She gave off, the voice came back, but now broken target cannot be contained. Fire not responding to suppression. Protocols evacuate. Command order. Retreat. Repeat. Retreat. All units disengage, but SAR did not stop. Her eyes turned toward the twin moons, and for the first time in her life, she walked into their full light. No roof, no wall, no cave, just open sky and glowing stone. Her body began to shine like a second star. Her arms reached up, her voice soft. I am not made to hide. I am made to rise. The light around her spread across the land. It touched the trees, the rivers, the broken stones, and where it passed, life returned. Not fire, not ash, but green shoots rising from cracks, water flowing through dry beds, small animals peeking from holes in the ground. Jack watched in silence, his eyes full of wonder, his heart full of pride. The ships pulled back, vanishing into the sky one by one. The silence after their exit was not empty. It was full of breath, full of light, full of peace. SAR turned back to Jack, her glow fading just enough for her eyes to be seen soft and human and bright. She walked to him and placed her hand on his chest. Your heart stayed when all others ran. You saw me when no one else would, for that I carry no fire, for you only warmth. Smiled and pulled her into a hug. The world around them now quiet, the twin moons high above, still shining but no longer feared. She had walked into their light and come back, not broken, not cursed, but complete. They sat together on the warm stone as stars began to appear. One by one, the air smelled like rain. The ground felt soft under them. SAR looked at the moons once more and said, maybe one day others will rise like me. Maybe not with fire, but with something just as strong. Jack nodded and said, maybe they will not need to rise. Maybe you already lit the way. She smiled, her body calm. Her fire still there, not loud, not angry, just ready for whatever came next. She was no longer the girl who feared the sky. She was the girl who touched the moons and made them shine brighter than ever before.